Simple Arcade Armor System is a complete overhaul for armor system for player tanks. This script was inspired by issues in Vanilla and Ace when trying to use tanks. When I was doing testing to use tanks in a mission, I found out that damage was really unpredictable. Sometimes I would take no damage from enemy tanks. Sometimes I would die instantly. The game felt too punishing, especially with mods. When I was trying to mix different mods and trying to use different tanks, I was trying to use RHS M1A1 versus a T-34, the results were not satisfying and they did not provide me with fun and happiness. The modified damage system removes catastrophic failures from the player tanks. There's no more big bangs. The script has full control over how damage is handled. Everything is done in script, which means configuring ammo is also done in script. All the damage values can be defined and changed per rocket, tank shell, whatever. Damage now spreads to other parts, meaning getting shot in the turret 15 times will eventually wear down the rest of the tank. In Vanilla, when the hull of the tank is destroyed, the tank combusts immediately. Instead, the hull hitbox acts as the armor of the tank, increasing damage to other parts once the hull is destroyed. Repairing damage is done with a simple Ace interaction. The progress is saved and there's a lot of potential to add more variables like repair people and toolkits as a resource. The AI accuracy. In Vanilla, I really dislike that there's no control over it. Changing the AI skill doesn't change anything, and it feels like 90% of the time the AI is 100% accurate. The scripted AI tank accuracy adds a lot more variety to enemy tank AI. The miss rate is modified on a variety of conditions. Successful hit or shot, tank type, countermeasure usage. The vanilla smoke does not break lock-on from missiles. The smoke just blocks the AI vision temporarily, and the AI will still try to predict the target location and shoot through smoke. Scripted countermeasures can completely break lock-on of Titan missiles. With a little bit of extra scripting, this feature can be easily expanded to any rocket or missile in the game. The EWS system, or use system, is a little gimmick I got. It's a remnant of Battlefield 2. Whenever an enemy tank or a RPG is looking at the player tank, there's a beep 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 and a little alarm. It has more potential to have like a direction indicator or something. I still think it's just like a cool little thing to have some extra detail. This script is a great proof of concept for other modifications and ideas that can be applied to a specific scenario. It's a lot of fun to have the power to control and tweak a lot of aspects of tank gameplay. Just to control the enemy accuracy is so cool to simulate older tanks like T-34, which would not have any type of fire control system, so the AI should have a harder time hitting the player, which in vanilla it really doesn't. This script could be expanded to TVT scenarios or perhaps supporting multiple tanks. The countermeasure script is really cool as well, breaking a lock-on from a missile, which could be expanded to helicopters or jets to have a guaranteed chance to break a lock-on. This script does require CBA A3 and ACE3 for the interaction for repairing the tank. Installing the script is a little bit harder than a normal script because it has some files such as the textures for the alarm and the sound for the alarm. So it needs a description.ext file, but all of this is still mission specific. It can be just added on a mission and that's it. For setting this script up, one of the annoying things is that description.ext has to be created with CFG sounds, which has the b4.ogg defined in it. Other than that, it's basically just a simple script loaded from the init.sqf. I use a different script to separate from the init because it's so long. This script is more of a concept and just a way of showing cool things that's possible with scripting, because it does take a lot of effort to set it up, with all the class names have to be defined and configured correctly. There are a lot of important configurations here. The player tank type has to be defined. We have to have a direct definition of all the vehicles that make me go beep 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 when I'm being aimed at. So there's a lot of specifics. A really important configuration is to capture the ammo class names for all the ammo to define the damage for them. I have a little helper script to help me do that, but it does require like individual setup. Every single projectile that should damage the tank needs to be defined with its specific damage value, and the damage value goes from 0 to 1, with 1 damage meaning that a part, for example, if a turret gets hit by 1 damage, it's completely destroyed and disabled. There were a lot of cool debug features added to this, like I can have a feature to keep track of all the projectiles that have hit the player tank, so it's easier to find what I need to define here with damage values. This script is pretty impressive to me, and there's a lot of things that I like about this script. There's a lot more potential to add even more stuff. In the handle damage script, it's really cool to have access to so many different variables and things that I can influence now that I have this script. I can control so many things. I can just have different features here. Like recently I added the hull overkill, which means when the hull of the vehicle is destroyed, all damage that's incoming to other parts is now actually increased, because the hull is basically the armor protecting the tank. There's potential to add damage modifiers per part, like have the tank tracks take more or less damage, whichever I want for a specific scenario. This is also where I implemented the damage sharing, because in vanilla you could get shot in the turret 10 times and it does no damage because the hull was already destroyed, but now if the damage is going over 1.0 when a part is fully destroyed, I can spread that damage to other parts. Really cool is also for me to have the AI accuracy script, which runs whenever a AI tank fires, and then I can calculate a miss rate. I have a couple of interesting modifiers here. For example, if the player tank that's being shot at hasn't been shot at for over a minute, the shot will be a miss most likely. Because I don't like it when I just drive and an enemy tank has a jump scare on me, I didn't see him, and he just one-taps me. So I don't want that to happen, so there always is going to be a warning shot thanks to this. And it's a very simple, I calculate a miss rate and I apply the miss rate to the projectile velocity, which means I make it go left, right, whatever. When making the EOS system, I made a cool little script to detect the threats to the player tank. So to do that, I have a little threats array that contains all the targets that could be threatening to me that should trigger my alarm, and I gather all the vehicles that match the description. I check all the AI infantry that are close to the player tank that have a secondary weapon, and then I iterate over this array and I check 1 target per frame. So running at a 30 frames per second, I'm checking 30 targets per second, and this keeps the performance good as well, so I don't have to worry about things. The missile and countermeasure interaction is also a really interesting thing I just recently found out. Is I have a script that fires whenever a missile is fired, and it checks if it's a FGM-148, which is the Ace Titan missile. Then I figure out if the Titan missile is headed towards the player tank. If it is, then I check if the player tank has deployed countermeasures, and if it has done that, I just make the missile go straight down into the ground so it doesn't hit the tank. All in all, it's just a simple little script. It's a couple of ways I found that I can make tank gameplay more fun for myself.